Well, welcome to a football show here on the 440 Sports Network. Look, the video is already up there. There you go. You can brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. I'm totally flummoxed here. That is Nick Suss of the Tennessean. I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. I'm also running on very little sleep, and I had some wine last night, so I'm in rough shape today. Nick, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm seemingly in better shape, but I won't say I'm doing great, but like better shape, it seems.
Yeah, it would. Your youth is showing is what I'm getting at here from Nick Suss. We got a lot of stuff to get to today on the show. We had a chance to tour new Nissan Stadium, of course. I think it's like the third time we've had a chance to do this. It was a little less detailed in terms of Q&A with Burke Nihill, the president and CEO of the Titans, but got to see a lot of cool stuff. Got to see the locker room for the first time. And learned a lot of facts, I think, actually about the stadium that were very interesting. So lots of facts we'll get to and kind of analysis of our breakdown of that, which leads us into other stories about the East Bank development right now that will tie into a potential Super Bowl for the Tennessee Titans. We'll give you a prediction on that as there's news around the 2029 Super Bowl already. And we'll let you know what we think is going to happen on the East Bank as it pertains to that stadium hosting the Super Bowl. And then you, of course, in prototypical Nick Suss fashion, a story that no one else has thought to do or is doing, and you drove all around the city looking for new Titans gear to compare and contrast what's available and the cost.
And more importantly, looking for old Titans gear. I thought it was a quest for new Titans gear. It became a quest for old Titans gear, and the laughs and yucks that I could find. So we'll talk about that third on the docket.
How many words were in the story?
1,100.
That's fantastic. How many miles did you drive?
Somewhere around 120.
I love it. That's great. And then at the end of the show, we did this on Monday with PK and I want to give you a chance to have final say in the room, to stand on the table for players, and we'll run a mock draft a little bit later on. If you are watching, of course, on Twitter or Facebook, please share the product, hit retweet. If you're on YouTube, like Bustin' Diamond, please give us a thumbs up and turn on your notifications. In the show notes of today's show and moving forward, there is an email address, incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com, and I will put it in the chat as well on this particular show.
If you 1 second.
Oh, this is an important phone call in the middle of the show. He's taking it. So here's the deal. We've got our draft night plans for Sinkers Beverages. We got our draft night plans, and it is going to be on Thursday evening. For $40, we're going to be at ML Rose in East Nashville. All you can eat, all you can drink. We've got a ton of good local craft beer, of course, most of which you can get at Sinkers Beverages. And, of course, you can get it at ML Rose. We're going to have a contest for the top 10 picks. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have a really fun night. We're going to hang around. We got the private patio in the back there. It's a great place to watch anything, any sporting event. So ML Rose is a great place to go anyway. But Sinkers Beverages, and again, ML Rose donating everything to the cause. Sinkers Beverages donating everything to the cause. 440 makes no money on this deal. Every penny will go to the Our Kids Foundation, which is one of the best charities in Middle Tennessee over there on West End. They take care of sexually abused children. So it's a really, really great cause. So $40, not too much money. Come out, have a great time on Thursday night. Email incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com. It is linked in the show notes. It'll be linked and on the YouTube page and in the chat as well. And that is just for Thursday night. Every single penny goes to Our Kids. Now, on Saturday night, welcome back, Nick. On Saturday night, that I'd like to know, I really want to know who called you. You're also muted, Boomer. So here's the thing. On Saturday night, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's going to be $75. But it is going to be at Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. It'll be totally private like last year. We're going to have a reporter Q&A. Paul Kaharski is going to be there. Nick Suss is going to be there. There are going to be some other special guests that are going to be there. I will be there. We're going to tell stories. We're going to answer your questions off the record. There's going to be a 5-flight high-end bourbon tasting, and we're going to have gift bags with lots of really cool stuff for everybody that comes. So it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be even better than last year. And we're going to talk about the draft. We'll have every pick. You'll have talked to a lot of people, Nick, and you'll have interviewed people, and Paul will have as well. And we're going to talk about everything we know about the draft off the record. You can ask us anything. It was a ton of fun last year. So many of you guys came out. We raised a couple $1,000s for Our Kids. I think we're up around $13,000 over 4 years for Our Kids. So if we can do better this year, that'd be great. Really want you guys to support this. So tickets are available. Well, it's not really tickets, it's slots. And so if you could email incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com, I will get the link. I'll put the email address everywhere, but just email RSVP for the night that you want, and then they'll take care of you. And every single penny goes to our kids. So thank you guys for letting me do this. Thank you guys for supporting it. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Nick and Paul, for being a part of it and supporting the cause as well. It's a ton of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. James Foster might even be there, I hear. So there you go. Okay, what do you want to give us anything here, Nick?
No, it's just my boss. Like sometimes there are people you work for, and when they call you, you have to answer.
Okay, fair enough. Happy opening day, by the way. Says Eddie. That is true. Today is opening day. The first day of the end of the Mets season. So I do appreciate that. And so let's get right into it here. Sinkers Beverages, of course, puts the entire thing on. So special thanks to Sinkers Beverages as well. All right, so let's. I'm going to throw this video up just so you guys can see it as you're watching the show, as we sort of are talking through this, and that way you guys can kind of see some of the stuff that we got to see in the new Titan Stadium as it pertains to the tour we took on Tuesday, I believe. And so. Look. Is there one thing? There's a bunch of little facts, Nick, that we learned about this building, and it is significantly further along. It is about to be enclosed. I think by September, it's going to have the roof up.
Yeah, they're going to start raising the roof in May, and they should be complete in September, October.
And what you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching, is you're going to see shots of the bowl, of course. You're going to see that's the Titans locker room as you're looking at it right now. It is going to be one of the largest locker rooms in the NFL. It's going to have direct access to dedicated offensive and defensive player meeting rooms. And what's interesting is like the size of the lockers is enormous. And I think he said that SoFi Stadium is the only one that is truly larger than the Titans locker room. So where do you want to start with this? We can talk escalators, we could talk elevators, we could talk standing room only. There's a lot of stuff that I think we learned from a tidbit standpoint, less about the development of the building, more about how it's going to function.
Yeah, I think the standing room only place is actually somewhat interesting to talk about because, look, we're going to hit a point where we have to talk about accessibility to this stadium. There's 60,000 seats. And I asked Burke, look, what percentage of these seats are going to be sold to PSLs? And he said all but a couple thousand. The intention is that a significant majority of this stadium will be sold to season ticket holders. So if you are somebody who is trying to get in for a single Titans game, it is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, especially with what we know the stadium costs are going to be at first, with excitement and demand and people wanting to see this place. Yeah. So the fact that they seem willing to sell standing room only tickets, and the fact that they are trying to market the outdoor balcony as the world's biggest rooftop bar, which it's not on the rooftop. You can see the level we're standing
right there.
on.
Yeah,
it's right there, and the roof is above you. It's a balcony. It's a very large, cool terrace.
I thought Bridgestone is also doing a major renovation, and I believe they're the ones who claimed that they're going to have the largest outdoor rooftop patio in Nashville. But it's going to be actually on the roof, I think.
It's going to be some weird nomenclature battles. But yeah, the fact that they seem open to standing room only, the fact that there will be this terrace and where we're standing might be a standing room only area, I do think that capacity for this place is going to be a little bit bigger than we are advertising. I do think that accessibility as far as get-in price and ability to actually see the game might be contingent on how willing they are to use standing room only and to sell the event space as a place people can go to experience entertainment rather than to sit and watch football.
Yeah.
And if they are willing to do that, that does make the place a little bit easier to get to for the average fan, but it still seems like buying tickets to games, if you want a seat in any bowl, is really going to be battling uphill against the PSL holders.
Yeah, it'll be tricky. And he said he didn't give us a number, but I think he said sort of potentially in the thousands, I think was the quote, like possibly in the thousands of standing room only. And if the screen is kind of paused right now, and that's where the terrace is going to be. I think the west end zone, and it's going to be in the end zones, honestly. And I think the end zone seats actually are going to be among the best seats. because if you are, to your point about accessibility, if you're trying to buy tickets, obviously the upper deck is going to be the most affordable place. But those top level seats that you can see right there in that top tier, it's the only place in the building that when you leave your seat to go do something, whether it's food or kids or bathrooms or whatever you need to do, you are going to lose sight of the game. The other levels, the first two levels, you have the 360-degree concourse where you can see the game at every step, everywhere you go, anything you need to do when you get up from your seat. However, the terraces are beautiful views of the stadium and of the field. And so if you have end zone seats like west, and I think in particular the west end zone, because the sun will never be in your eyes, you'll always have shade and you'll always have a really great view of the field. I think that's a really great place to buy a ticket, honestly. Now, that might be too expensive, but the standing room only, you're going to have this big giant patio where you're going to have access to bathrooms and food, and like it's going to have a view of the city, and it's going to be very activated, as he says. There'll be like a sit-down restaurant probably out there on the outdoor part of it. I just think those seats could be sneaky good in terms of like where the value is, and not have, again, I don't like the idea of, and again, you can see it kind of here in the picture, when you go to those top tier seats, it's the most closed off to the field that you can be in the building, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And like, to respond to Stillman and Zedine and some of these people in the comments, I am not saying what I'm saying about tickets because I don't think they'll be available. I'm saying this because resale markets are a hassle. Like, yeah. I wish you didn't have to deal with them. Of course there will be resale markets available, but you'll be buying from PSL people, or you'll be buying off of resale hawks, and that's a hassle. That's all I am saying. So if they have the expanded SROs, that would replace the market of single game tickets, which might be smaller.
Ed, get some comments here, the ones that Nick is alluding to. Ed says, and obviously if you're watching on the screen, Burke is explaining this like northwest corner where they're going to do, I think it's going to look very much like the College Football Hall of Fame. If you've ever been to the College Football Hall of Fame, there's a giant helmet wall with every single helmet of college football. They're going to have a massive, the two walls on the atrium are going to be just covered with helmets of a shout out to sort of every high school in the state of Tennessee. So cool stuff there from them on that. And so here's some comments. Ed Henry says, why is this stadium build clipping along at a slower pace than others like Buffalo and previous stadium builds, cash flow, other factors? It's actually on time and on budget. So I don't know. I mean, I thought they had intended to put the roof up in March or April of this year. So maybe they're a month behind on the roof. But like, honestly, for a size and a scope of a project like this to be on time and on budget, like they have events scheduled like next April and May. Like they have events. And so, and to your point, Nick, Burke said there's going to be hundreds of events a year, and 9 of them will be Titans games. So you've got 90 plus opportunities to go to the building every year that will not be Titans games. So hopefully people can get in. Morning, Z Dean, good to see you. The biggest takeaway from the view from the upper deck seems like most seats are great. Yes, that is the thing about the seats. To your point about expense, they might be expensive, but they are all going to be very good seats. You're going to have a great view everywhere you sit.
Also, just to rewind one comment, Buffalo is the example. I believe Buffalo's an outdoor stadium, right?
It is. No roof.
Those are easier to build. Like you can build a place quicker if you don't have to weather lock it.
Yeah, it seems like the case. Single game tickets are a big draw for some of us that either can't afford season tickets or would rather just see 1 or 2 games, says Bustin' Diamond. I think that's fair. Stillman's comment that you referenced, Sus, you know I love you. But there will be tons of tickets every game on StubHub and SeatGeek, and if the team sucks, it'll be easy to get tickets. Nobody disagrees with that in general. Z Dean also says, I think the first year or 2 might be hard to get a ticket, but Titans tickets have never been hard to get. There you go. Is it kind of like this is a good question. Is it like Geodis Park, where you can see the field from the concourse? Absolutely. On the lower level. On the main concourse where you will come in, there is it's actually probably less disruption of the sightlines than Geodis Park. I don't know if you've been there or not, Nick, but because it's a smaller building and the stairs to get to the upper deck are on every section, there's actually more blockage of the view. When we were walking around on that first level, there's very little blocking your view from the stadium. So you will see it 360 degrees. That's what that means. And so I actually think it's even more visible from Geodis Park, except for what I was saying about the sidelines and the top tier. You got to go through a tiny hole, and then you're kind of behind all the seats. There's no view on the upper deck.
And like the intentionality of the architecture in this place, I'm not here to give a commercial for the Titans and their good architects, but they talked about this a lot when we were in the locker room, and I think it applies to the concourses too. They were very intentional about reimagining ways to build the place so that load-bearing structures don't get in the way of a good experience.
Yeah.
And if you guys saw the locker room view that Braden showed, there was no pillar in the middle of that room. That was intentional. There should be one there, but they redistributed the weight of the entire locker room so that you could, have actual space in the middle of the locker room to move around and have exercise tables and stretch and all of that stuff.
And if you're watching, you can kind of see there's this giant kind of circular marking on the floor in the locker room that is sort of, I guess, the center logo of everything. So you can kind of see where it's going to be. It is enormous. Like, it's a huge room, especially relative to the one that they've been in recently. The lockers themselves will be bigger than almost any other team in the NFL, and the locker room itself will be bigger. And they're going to have access to the field for warm-ups directly through their meeting rooms and their medical facilities. So they'll be coming out sort of in the 50-yard line, like into the practice and sort of in warm-ups, and they'll go under. And then for the actual coming out of the tunnel, they'll go to an actual tunnel and then come out of the real life tunnel. Escalators. I was not shocked at these numbers, Nick, but because I've ridden on all 4 of them, I could not believe that Nissan Stadium currently only has 4 escalators. That's an insane thing to think about. There will be 44 escalators, or no, 27 escalators. There were 6 passenger elevators in current Nissan Stadium. There will be 44.
You were right the first time.
I was right the first time. Okay. So either way, it's like 10x the number of mechanical ways to get your ass up into the stadium.
When was the last time you walked up the ramps from ground floor to top of Nissan Stadium? I try to do it like twice a season, a
long time,
just to see what is going on the top decks. It's going to be nice that the average fan won't have to walk 8 ramps to get to their seat.
It is the most antiquated thing about the building, and there's a lot of antiquated things about the building. Probably concerts, actually. Elton John. I took my kids to Elton John. We walked up there, sat in the upper deck, and Rolling Stones, which would have been like before I had kids, like 12 years ago.
If you rolled a stone down those ramps at the start of the concert, I am not sure it would have gotten to the bottom by the encore.
That's correct. That is correct. Okay, Jason, here's the question then. Bustin says, is this a Simon Mall or a football stadium? It's the world's largest Whole Foods. Okay?
We'll talk about malls more later.
It's the world's largest Whole Foods. That's what Steve Cavendish has called it for years. I will say this. It doesn't look as big because it's so wide and flat and there's nothing around it right now. But once you are in, it's a substantial building.
Also, it'll be much easier. I think I'm taking this from Easton. I think he said this while we were there, but it'll look regular proportion once there's actually turf in there. You'll actually be able to see how big the field is. Yeah. Right now, based on the views you were looking at, that if you try to imagine all of that gray space, all that brown space as the field, that's not the field. The field is smaller than that. So the proportions will look different.
Yep. Appreciate Nick cosplaying to Slummin in the upper deck once or twice a year. There we go. All right, here's the question. Jason says, so probably no Super Bowl until at least 2030. Look, it was never coming earlier than that anyway. The NFL wants you to have a season or 2 under your belt in terms of work out the kinks of a building and make sure the execution is great. But more importantly, and I think I've said this on the show before, and I'll kind of explain it again. It's not necessarily about the building, and it's not about Nashville's ability to host a great event. We are going to get everything that they ask for at some point. It's a Final Four. I think WrestleMania, that doesn't matter to me, but I think WrestleMania is already on the books, CMA Fest, etc. We're going to get a Super Bowl. The Music City Bowl will become, or it'll be featured with, a national championship game in college football, and we'll get a Final Four. All of those things are going to happen. The question is when, at what time. And it seems there was some reporting, I guess, this week or recently that it seems like Vegas is going to have the 2029 Super Bowl. So February of 2029, the 2028 football season. And what the thing that matters here with Nashville is the area around the stadium. So TPAC, I don't know if you guys follow Metropolitics, but a lot of back and forth on where they're going to put TPAC. They finally got a deal done for TPAC in the last few months, I think it was last fall. It is going to be sort of in the parking lots where current Nissan Stadium sits. It is going to sit on the river and face the river and kind of nestle up next to the pedestrian walking bridge, the Siegenthaler walking bridge. That is going to be sort of a front porch of the East Bank for development and, most importantly, for TV shots. They want it to look really good on TV. It has to function really well around the stadium to host the Super Bowl. You cannot have it be a giant mud pile of construction. And so what's going to happen is they're going to build TPAC, and the target date to complete TPAC is the end of the fall of 2029. They are shooting for prior to the end of the year. So October, November, imagine they finish TPAC. Then you need a 4-month break in construction around the stadium to put on the Super Bowl. That's preparation and tear down and execution of the event. And so the problem is that once you start construction on the other 30 acres in the initial development area, the IDA, it turns into a mess. So you've got to find the sweet spot of they haven't started on all the other stuff in the area, but they finished the good stuff for fans and for TV and for the NFL. And that is TPAC in the stadium. So the sweet spot for all of this is probably February of 2030, the 2029 NFL season. I've been saying that for years. I'll stick with it. It could get pushed back a year maybe if construction is delayed on other projects, but pay attention to other projects. Pay attention to TPAC, pay attention to PSC Metals, pay attention to the hotels and the buildings around the stadium. And if they're all saying, "Oh, we'll begin construction in March," we'll begin construction on this new building in June of 2030. That tells you that the game will happen before that. So that's my spiel. So yeah. Any holes you want to punch in that theory?
No, the only possible impediment to this happening is the other 30 cities in the National Football League, the other 29 cities. There is a chance. It's been a long time since the Super Bowl's been in Miami. It's been a long time since the Super Bowl has been in Florida in general. The NFL usually doesn't like to go that long between visits to marquee cities. I believe they're doing Atlanta in 2028. So the question is, would they want to go back to the Southeast so soon after playing one in Atlanta? Just 2 years later, would they come back to Nashville? How often do they want to go to SoFi? How often do they want to go to Vegas? Like, there are some questions about that. I don't think any of these are problems. I don't think any of these end up saying the NFL wouldn't come here. But that's the one thing we almost never talk about. We know when Nashville will be ready, but there are other cities that bid. And it's just a question of how soon will Nashville's bid line up against other marquee cities that want the game.
Didn't the Super Bowl just recently go back to back in California? Is that correct?
I think so. I think that this year and next year are back to back.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think it's San Francisco that just played in LA is next year, but I could be.
That's right. So yeah, San Francisco was this past year. Las Vegas was 2024. So if it goes back in 2029, that was actually pretty quickly turnaround. But the fact that it's going west to Vegas is a positive that it would come back east first and foremost. So no, I agree with you. Like, Florida generally gets lots of Super Bowls and they have a lot of pull. Z Dean asked, are they blowing up old Nissan Stadium? Unfortunately, they are not, because it is so legitimately close to the new one that they cannot dynamite it and have the whole thing do the viral of it all crashing down. They're going to take it apart piece by piece, to which I said to Burke, you should charge money to have people do like rage rooms on the dollhouses and raise money for charity, and have people come with like bats and axes and just beat the shit out of those things because people don't like them. So,
and then with the new stadium, I will do one of these Braden breadcrumbs for a second of thing I'm not ready to report yet, but have heard rumors about. I have heard rumors. I have heard murmurs about what the grand opening ticketed event will be at the new stadium is. And my expectation is that the average listener of this show will not be super stoked about that. I think that there will be
Tim McGraw.
I think there will be a lot of people who are very excited. I would guess that the average listener of this show would not be particularly excited.
So an old white guy from Franklin will be really excited.
I'm not saying that.
Is what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my breadcrumb that remind me in like 3 months or so.
Wait, are you saying
see if I've reported further on that?
Okay. Are you saying like the first regular event, or are you saying the actual grand opening special event to like christen the building? Like, hey, we're like the way you smash a bottle on a ship in like
No,
the
I'm
1800s.
talking about the first
Oh,
like
actual.
ticketed.
Gotcha.
This is a
Limp
thing.
biscuit. Got it.
This is an event that people will pay to see type thing.
Monster trucks. Okay, there you go. Oh, he's saying, okay, is that what you're saying?
Stillman's closer on the money. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a young audience. We have a young audience. I thought you were saying old guy. So K-pop demon hunter. As a father of two daughters who are not quite 16 but are young, I feel like I have some insight into the things that they're interested in. Taylor Swift is not coming to tour right now. Okay. Let's get into your. By the way, Sinkers Beverages. Special thanks to them for promoting us. And I haven't put in the into the email into the comments here, but you can copy and paste as I am typing it in right now. incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com is the email address. Please email us an RSVP for either Thursday or Saturday or both. Tickets are $40 on Thursday. Tickets are $75 on Saturday, and it will be worth it. I promise. It's going to be a ton of fun. So come on out and support the kids, man. Support the kids and have some fun and talk Titans and watch the draft and drink some beer and have some good food, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So come hang out. All right, why did you want to drive hundreds of miles around Middle Tennessee and check on gear?
Well, the most honest answer is that neither the Titans nor Fanatics would respond to me with actual sales data on how well gear is selling. So I needed to take matters into my own hands. But
sure,
look, I am fascinated by the little corporate quirks, the little retail quirks that kind of make commerce go. And I wanted to know, like, are there people that are actually going brick and mortar and buying new Titans gear? Like, is this a thing that people care about? Is this a thing that people want to do? So I spent from roughly 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. yesterday driving a course from, let's see, Mount Juliet to Opryland to the outlets in Antioch, down to the Cool Springs Galleria, back to the Titans team store at Nissan Stadium.
This is all gross.
Where the commerce happens. Where do people shop? I tried to represent different parts of the city. I wanted to make it out west, but at a certain point I was like, gas is expensive, guys. I don't want to keep doing this. But yeah, I ended up hitting 9 stores that sell officially licensed Titans gear and was horrified to learn that the inconsistency here, some places are marking down, are discounting, are clearance racking the old Titans gear. And some places are raising up the prices on old Titans gear. Not hyper significantly, but
yeah, it's just an a-hole thing to do. Tell us where specifically the discounted stuff is.
60% off all old gear at the Titans team store, which is not a surprise.
Well done, Titans. Well done.
They have it behind a curtain. Have you been in the Titans team store recently?
Not in a while, no.
The back left corner over behind the cash registers, there is a curtain, and there is a white piece of like a sheet of printer paper that on it is printed 60% all old gear. It doesn't say off, so I hope they're not misleading people.
You only get a little more than half the shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, big discounts if you go to the Titans team store in person on all old clothing, paraphernalia, knickknacks, etc. Vintage, it is called, for what it's worth. Vintage Titans gear. It's a month old, so it's vintage. Also, Lids. If you go to a Lids location,
I didn't know we still had those.
Lids, I learned yesterday, a subsidiary of Fanatics. So it is not a surprise that the discounts are pretty heavy with the company that is a subsidiary of the official partner of National Football League Commerce.
Okay.
But if you go to a store that is more, shall we say, suburban leaning, if you go to a Dick's Sporting Goods, if you go to an Academy Sports and Outdoors,
large retailer,
the navy blue gear, without fail, is more expensive than it was a month ago. And
It's
I
so
am
stupid.
probably banned from going to these stores for what it's worth because I saw new stickers on all these things and I peeled off a lot of the new stickers to see what the old sticker price was and then put the new sticker back.
And it was higher?
Yeah, so it's gone up. So there are new stickers on, say, like a blue polo with a Titans logo, navy blue
Like
polo
dark,
with a
yeah.
Titans, dark blue Titans logo, gone from $49.99 to $54.99. You want a navy blue Titans fishing shirt with the flaps and the pockets, and I don't fish, as you can tell, but you want a navy blue Titans fishing shirt.
This thing here for all my lures and hooks.
Yeah, you got fishing capabilities.
Yeah.
$5 more expensive than it would have been a month ago. You want a tumbler? You want a tumbler? Like a travel mug, more expensive. You want a novelty football, more expensive. Like they have noticed, and I talked to some managers there. I talked to some employees there. They're all like, "Look, this is corporate. Nothing I can do about it." They're just like, "Yeah, it's weird. That is a weird thing you've noticed." But the navy blue stuff, this does not apply to the white gear. This does not apply to the Titans blue, the Oilers blue gear.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply the big box stores are deciding to raise the price just a little bit, $5 more, on a navy blue Tony Pollard jersey. You want a Tony Pollard jersey? It's $5 more expensive than it was. I've got a photo. Let's see if you guys
I hope the market corrects itself on the Tony Pollard jersey that's more expensive now. So I actually was in there recently, like this week. I had to go in there, which I never do, but I went into one of the big retailers out in Nashville West to go buy a bunch of stuff. And I went over to just look at the gear, kind of like you did. And it means you have a finger. The fact that I did this and we did this separately, and my experience is reflected in your reporting, means you have a finger on the pulse of the Titans fan base, unlike any other reporter. And so I go in there, and I was like, I went to look at the new gear to see what they had, because I've got a couple nieces and nephews that are big fans, and I wanted to see if I could find some like tiny kids T-shirts, something cheap and affordable for small, very small kids, like 3 years old, right? But with the new logo, they have nothing. They have nothing. It's only the jerseys that are available, basically, and most of them are full size. I think they have some kids jerseys, but that is the only thing they have in the new gear. And then I went to look at. I was like, "You're right, though." I noticed. I was like, "Oh, this is a $30 navy blue old logo." That's the only thing they had for small kids was the old stuff. Which, granted, they have a lot more. They have a lot more product, right?
And I will explain that in a second. But
you're right. I was like, this is $35 for a 3-year-old to get the old jersey, the old logo. I'm not. This is ridiculous. What are we doing?
I just texted you a photo. If you can pull it up. I have a price tag of this is a Tony Pollard jersey at a Dick's Sporting Goods in Mount Juliet, where you can very clearly see the $45 tag. Taped over by $50. Like you can see both prices. I don't know how well it'll translate to.
Yeah, I can see if I can get it up there. You got to keep talking though for me to do this.
I
can live produce the show real fast.
Yeah, I have no idea how it'll come through, but yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to some folks. There is not a huge groundswell from the hardest of hardcore fans that they miss the Flames, that they miss the Navy, that they miss the Sword. But talking to people at the official Titans team store yesterday, the general consensus was foot traffic is way up since the rebrand. Yeah, can you guys, if you look real close there, you can see that underneath the 50 there is a shadow, and that shadow says 45. They have crudely increased the prices of a medium-sized Tony Pollard jersey at Dick's Sporting Goods.
$50 for a medium Tony Pollard T-shirt is insane. $45 is insane. That's an insane thing to charge $45 for. That's insane.
It's vintage now, Braden. It's vintage.
GTFOH.
What I was saying, talking to people at the Titans team store yesterday, foot traffic's up. More people are coming in. They said prior to the rebrand, there were some days where they'd only sell a keychain all day. And I get that that's because it was like 20 degrees and there probably wasn't a lot of foot traffic near Nissan Stadium because it's not like a busy, hyperactive area. But people are coming to the store now. And they said they've noticed a trend where if somebody is coming in and they look like they're a hardcore Titans fan and they look like they already have gear and they know what they're talking about, they're buying the new stuff.
Yeah.
And if somebody's coming in and they look like a tourist and they look like somebody who is new to the Titans fandom, they're going straight to the 60% off discount section. So it is good to have both. It is good to have a cheap option.
That's true.
I will say, if you guys care at all about which one I would say is the best store, which one gets the Nick Suss stamp of approval, I would go to the Lids outlet in Antioch.
Oh,
that was the most impressive selection. They got Chris Johnson jerseys there.
Oh, that's your jam. That's your jam right there, buddy.
They still got a Kevin Byard, I found.
Ooh, I like that.
They still got Levis gear in there if you want it. I saw somebody way up in the comments, you don't have to scroll for it, saying they found like a 95% off L'Jarius Sneed jersey on fanatics.com last night.
How much?
95% off.
That's, I mean, 5% is about how many snaps he played over the last 2 years.
So it's not quite that good, but I will say that at the Lids brick and mortar stores, the hats are cheaper than they are on fanatics.com, and Lids is a subsidiary of Fanatics. God, and this is true of the old brand hats and the new brand hats. So if you do want to buy a Titans hat, this is not a support local businesses thing. I know we're supporting Fanatics either way, but like, go to the mall. Actually, actually drive to the mall. You are going to save money.
And unfortunately, all of this stuff, this is a bit of an aside, but it's related, and that is programmatic AI pricing is coming. And that means that like the computers and the programs and the software will know when you are in need of X, Y, or Z, and will therefore change pricing, and will jack up prices in real time. And there's a chance that there's a lot of products in our future that are just differently priced for different people at all times, and that is an insane thing to think about. It's really, really predatory. It's disgusting and gross, and hopefully there's some regulation around this. But it's similar. Like Dick's is doing this because they have run programs and software and algorithms on a wide scale that know that people will pay a few bucks more for the old stuff because they don't know any better to go to the team store, which you're talking about the one in the stadium, right? The one right there, like on the first floor.
Stadium. Yeah.
Go to the Nissan Stadium one. Go to Lids. Go read Nick Suss's story, please. Go pay for journalism at Tennessean.com. You're doing God's work, Nick, is what you're doing. You're doing God's work.
It was fun. This is what podcasts are for. I will say, from like an actual reporting, not driving around doing insane, taking stickers off of merchandise angle, the rollout has been slow because the rollout is slow. Like the gear needs to be manufactured. There is time to this. I would expect late April to early May, there will be a more formal rollout at some of these stores.
Like what? I can't put my finger on what happens in late April. You mean they'll have a brand new running back to sell jerseys?
I think there will be more merch ready. Like I went rack by rack, and this isn't in the story because it's not interesting, but I counted how many jerseys were available at these stores. And you go to a Dick's Sporting Goods, and I think they had 40, maybe 50 total new jerseys available for sale. And obviously there's stuff in the back room. I know how inventory works, but it's not like there is a giant display of hundreds of jerseys available. And of all the players on the current roster, the only people who I saw new style jerseys being sold for at all of the 9 stores I went to are Cam Ward, Jeffrey Simmons, Tony Pollard, and Calvin Ridley. Calvin, I think, was only available at Dick's. I don't think I saw him anywhere else. There might have been a couple of them at Lids. I could be wrong.
And at least 50% of those players are guaranteed to be on the team this year.
So it's not like if you want to go to one of these stores and get you a Cedric Gray jersey, or you want to go get a Peter Skoronski jersey, or even if you want to go get an Alante Taylor jersey or one of these new ones, you still kind of got to do that online.
They just haven't made them yet. Yeah, you got to order. They're probably making them as you order them. What are the new numbers? I know I was trying to think of what Jeremiah Love's number will be for the Tennessee Titans, because I know Jermaine Johnson's 11, Cordell Flott's 18, Wandale Robinson is 4. Correct? Does that sound right? I'm curious what the other numbers are going to be, so we'll see. Titans great Tony Pollard, apparently. Z Dean, more importantly, have you seen any plushies? Stillman with the good in my experience, the best Titan stuff for old and markdown stuff is your sort of TJ Maxes and Rosses, so please check those out. So yeah, there you go.
I also like the best Goodwill in the city. If you guys want, I'm not going to tell it online. I don't want to blow up their spot. It's still a little bit of a secret, but there is one Goodwill in Nashville that is much better than all the other Goodwills, and they've got some good gear there. Let me know if you want the secrets.
Okay. Email incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com. My Levis shirt will be cool when he's balling on another team and the Titans are mocking quarterbacks. There we go. Okay, with that kind of confidence. All right, Sinkers Beverages, come out to our draft party, please. If you need information, reach out to me. You can get to me on socials. Very easy to get to us. And, of course, make sure that you email incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com, incrowd@sinkersbeverages.com, and RSVP to either Thursday night or Saturday night. Every penny goes to the Our Kids Foundation. Special thanks to Sinkers, ML Rose, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue for putting this all on. There may be, I don't want to speak too soon, but there may be some of that new gear you're talking about available at our Saturday night party. So just there's the breadcrumb for you there 40 minutes into the show. All right, you want to do a mock draft real quick? Do we get everything?
Yeah.
I think we got everything.
I can talk more about what I did yesterday, but I think we've exhausted it.
No, I think we're good. Good. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to do this all live in color here. And so, Nick, you are officially the general manager. This is already – we're not going to do trades. We can talk through some trades if you want to. And so Fernando Mendoza has gone first. Arvell Reese has gone second. Caleb Downs has gone third. How realistic do you think that is, by the way? Because this Ty Simpson conversation is really interesting to me.
I'm not going to over speculate on the motivations of media members who need to drive attention in a draft process that has gotten a little bit boring. But it is definitely the time of the draft process where you start throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
If you guys listened to the show back in September and October and into early November, Braden and I both said very nice things about Ty Simpson. I still think Ty Simpson is a good quarterback. I still think Ty Simpson is probably deserving of some first round consideration. I don't think he's a top 5 pick.
I will say this, and this is a little half baked here. I think I would rather have Ty Simpson than Fernando Mendoza.
Okay, I don't think I would go that far.
But it's not. I'm not fully there yet. My issue is Mendoza's offense never asked him to do any NFL processing. It's not that he's not a good player. I think he's a good player. I think Simpson is brilliant at standing in the pocket and processing accurately where he's supposed to go with the ball. I don't know if either of them is going to be good. I think they're just more even than people think. Even the folks that are doing this for attention, right? I agree with your point on that one, but. The point is if you look at, first of all, these trade offers are not a thing that's going to be real. The Bears are not going to offer you 3 top 60 picks and a second round pick next year to move up to 4. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. If it does, the Titans would be absolutely foolish not to take it. Tampa Bay offering the 15th, 46th, and 77th pick and a second rounder for the 4th overall pick. Again, if that is offered, the Titans should take it in 2 seconds.
Yeah, can I accept that? Do I have to do the draft your way?
No trades. No trades in this draft. Okay, but Mendoza and Arvell Reese feels like a pretty stock 1 and 2. Everyone, to your point about it being predictable. Caleb Downs at 3 seems a little. The Cardinals are kind of a wild card. I could see them taking a pass rusher. I could see them taking Styles. I could see them taking Love. I could see them taking Downs. I could see them taking a wide receiver. There's a lot of things that the Cardinals could do at 3. So Downs goes to 3. You are 100% fully in control. I think it's Jeremiah Love, but I'm giving you final say on the roster, as Stillman says.
Yeah, for what it's worth, if you look at the most recent Vegas odds as of 36 hours ago when I saw them at most recent, the Cardinals pick that people are projecting right now is David Bailey, which does point more toward the Titans taking Jeremiah Love
over Reuben Bain.
But look, if Bailey's on the board, I'm taking David Bailey, and I'm in charge. And this is not me projecting. This is not me saying what I think the Titans are going to do. You're giving me final say. All right. I am taking the safer. We talk about, there's nobody in this draft who doesn't have a question mark. I'm failing to see the question mark on David Bailey the more research I do into it.
Can he be on the field on first down is a big one.
But I don't necessarily. He got better throughout the season. He truly did improve there. Like,
I am Bailey over Bain all day. I think Bain is more of like the 10th overall player in the draft. I do not. I think he's a really good player. There's no guarantee he's a pass rusher or an outside player, and I think he's just more of a I just think talent-wise, he's more of like 10, 11, 12 than he is top 4. I think Bailey has a chance to be a top 4 player. Here's the thing. I'm giving you final say, and you have final pick, and you can do what you want to do, but you have to tell us what you think the Titans would do in this situation.
Yeah.
In this
situation, I think Borgonzi would be working the phones like crazy. I don't think they'd get the deal they want. And I do think ultimately they would pick the pass rusher. I don't know for certain, but I do think ultimately that they would pick the piece. I wrote this earlier this week in like a pros and cons of Jeremiah Love situation. Every single move the Titans have made this offseason has been one for the sake of raising the floor. Whether you call the trades they've made raised the floor, the signings they've made raised the floor, keeping Calvin Ridley raised the floor. These decisions have not been tear down for the sake of a better ceiling moves. They have been make sure this team can't be worse than 6 wins. Make sure this team can't be worse than 7 wins. Jeremiah Love is so inconsistent with that strategy. And that doesn't mean you don't cash your chips in when it's time to cash your chips in. So if the Titans say, we have raised our floor, let's go get somebody who improves our ceiling.
Yeah.
Go get Jeremiah Love.
This is exclusive. Jeremiah Love to me is exclusively about overall grade of player. If Jeremiah Love is a 92 for the Titans and David Bailey is an 87, they got to take Jeremiah Love. That's it.
And like, I'm sorry I didn't write this down. I'm going to have to scroll through my email for a second, but I'll just do it from memory.
Do you want David? Are you taking David Bailey?
But one last thing on Love. I spent the week emailing a bunch of NFL draft analysts. Hey, just based off of your pre-draft rankings, rank me Jeremiah Love versus Ashton Genty versus Bijan Robinson versus Saquon Barkley versus Christian McCaffrey versus Leonard Fournette versus Todd Gurley. And I got replies back from a couple of people. Matt Miller sent me his rankings. Dane Brugler sent me his rankings. People who have been doing this for a long, long while. And generally speaking, Jeremiah Love has been 3rd or 4th on these lists.
I think that's right.
He has not been Saquon Barkley. He has not been Bijan Robinson.
Christian McCaffrey.
He has been ahead of those guys, of McCaffrey.
Really?
I think one person had Zeke ahead of him. Like, rankings are rankings. But like,
I think McCaffrey is actually a pretty decent comp, to be honest.
But like, I think if you are comparing David Bailey to the number 1 edge rusher off of the board in recent years, he is going to be a little bit lower than Love is compared to the average number 1 running back. But I think the value at edge is just significantly more important. And I'm taking the edge.
I don't disagree. I think Love and Styles will be graded higher than any pass rusher. The question is how much higher, and is that enough to justify taking them because they are best available and you're sticking to your evaluation? That's what this comes down to. All right, so you're taking David Bailey here with the 4th overall pick in the Nick Suss official mock draft 1.0.7.
Sure.
Okay. All right, David Bailey's the pick. All right, we will move on here to the second pick. 35 is where I really like them trading down, especially if they get a need. If they get David Bailey, if they draft Jeremiah Love, I don't know. But I could see them trading down again. We're not going to take any picks. This is a really great trade, honestly. Moving up 3 spots doesn't do much for me, but adding an extra pick there is pretty solid. If you could, the Eagles giving you 54, 68, 98, that's fine. The Broncos offering you 62, 108, and a bunch of picks next year. I wouldn't want to touch that either. So here we go. What's available? All right, on defense, if you go to corner, you have D'Angelo Pons, Chris Johnson, Keontae Scott, Igbenogson. Pretty solid stuff there. If you're looking at that, if you're going to the other big need, wide receiver, Jeremy Bernard, Chris Bell, Chris Brazel, Antonio Williams, Zachariah Branch. Personally, this is the problem with how this board has fallen for the Titans and why I don't necessarily love taking edge in the first round, because although edge looks depleted as well at this point, it looks like R. Mason Thomas went off the board at 33, which is pretty. Colton Hood at 29. Those are guys I would target. Omar Cooper at 27, I would target as well. Malachi Lawrence is maybe a first-round pick. I would love to take him, but you're not going to do that with Bailey. So,
go to all players. Go to all players available.
Available.
I just want to scan the best players on the board.
And this these rankings are the consensus rankings, by the way.
Yeah.
Which aren't exactly. They're not up to date. They're a little lagging behind timeline-wise. So
this is an interesting place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if any of these picks are starters next year. So the question ends up being, if you are betting on D'Angelo Pons could start, sure, and Chris Johnson could start. I'm a big Chris Johnson fan.
Those are the two. Those are the two I'm eyeballing right now. D'Angelo Pons and Chris Johnson.
I like them both. I also am. Emmanuel Pregnon is somebody who I have thought about at this pick. I see he's available. He's a little bit low down.
That's an interesting strategy because I agree with your point here, which is you're reaching a touch on need no matter what position you go for.
Or the inverse is you take Zion Young, you take Cassius Howell, you take somebody who you don't need to start this year, and you are hedging on what if Jermaine Johnson doesn't re-sign after one season. And you are kicking the can down the road so that you are actually building depth. You could also justify that with Blake Miller.
I think offensive line, the way this draft has fallen, I think offensive line is actually a pretty sneaky pick right here. My issue with, first of all, Cassius Howell, I want nothing to do with. He is one of the worst measured and testing players in the history of his position. Zion Young is actually a really sneaky good pick here if you are trying to replace Jermaine Johnson, because I think he's the big body outside run stuffing edge that I think you'd want in this defense. Malachi Lawrence is the one I would take here if I was picking an edge player over both of those guys. If I am your scout and you're asking me, I think you decide between D'Angelo Pons and Chris Johnson here and add a piece. Pons is more of a slot corner. Johnson's more of an outside corner. I think you can get a good receiver at 66, at 66 if you want. But I am not opposed to a Miller or Pregnon get a high level talent at offensive line and then not ask him to do much. I know that's a luxury, but I could be on board with that. So what do you want?
I am between the Chris Johnson pick and the Blake Miller pick, if I am being honest. There is a lot of value there on Blake Miller as a guy who really could be your left tackle in a year.
Okay.
There is an option in Dan Moore's contract next year. You don't want to go into 2027 needing to use a first-round pick on multiple top 5 needs. And you've heard me say this before, top 5 needs: quarterback, left tackle, wide receiver 1, edge rusher 1, and cornerback 1. Seemingly, if you have Cam Ward at quarterback, if you have David Bailey at edge, if you signed Alontae Taylor for the long term and Cordell Flott, if you have your theoretical set everywhere, you're pretty much setting up to say draft your left tackle now, draft your wide receiver down the line in 2027.
You know what? This is a good point here. I'm going to point this out. I think now that I'm thinking about this, if you're going to go, in your whole strategy there is very smart. I like where you're going there. And if the board falls this way and one of the really high level offensive linemen is available, I think that's a sound pick. I think if you really like Keontae Scott, which I really do, and I could argue he's better than D'Angelo Pons at what they are doing, which is nickel corner there, you do have to take him here. And so it would be a little early. This is also why I love the trade down, because if the board falls this way, you can move back and just take the deal, add an extra pick here. There are good corners available later. Traden Stukes, Keith Abney, David Igbinosun. They might fall to you at 66. Receiver also, you're going to have to kind of pick. My issue is that the cornerbacks they have signing 2 starters and a depth piece has given them the flexibility to not have to go get a corner early in the draft. So if Colton Hood falls to you, you take him at 35. But where do you want to do here, buddy? Your final say. I kind of like the Keontae Scott and the Blake Miller strategy.
Since I am not allowed to trade back, if I were allowed to trade back 10 picks, I would go with the Johnson, Miller, Pregnon, whatever that is. Or sorry, the Johnson, Scott, Pregnon. But since we're sticking at 35, I am going to take Blake Miller.
I like it. Let's see how the strategy plays out. I think it's good. All right, there we go. Blake Miller is the pick at 35. The Nick Suss mock draft is underway. Now we're at 66, and we'll see what happens here. There's another trade back to Miami. Again, I'm all for doing this stuff, but we're not going to do it for the sake of this. All right, see, there we go. Keontae Scott made it to us at corner, and Antonio Williams made it to us at receiver. I like both of those players.
And Elijah Surratt and Traden Stukes and Chandler Rivers. A lot of players I like
Genesis
in this
Smith.
range.
Genesis Smith is a very good coverage safety that they would be really serious to consider. Caleb Banks has fallen at defensive tackle. I don't think that's, even though he is best available, maybe in a perfect world, if that kind of thing happens, any player rated that far falls down, that somebody comes up to get him maybe at 66. So personally, as your head of scouting department here, I would say Keontae Scott or Antonio Williams is the pick. So
yeah, I will take Keontae Scott. I think that a player who will contribute has fallen to a place where you should pick him.
Okay.
Elijah Surratt's close, but I'm taking Keontae Scott.
I don't know if Elijah Surratt is the wide receiver from Indiana you want. I think you want Cooper, but you could get Jacoby Lane, you could get Lance Slater. There's a couple of guys you could get much later. Kendrick Law, he's a little bit more like Wan'Dale Robinson, also Kentucky. I really love Antonio Williams and Ted Hurst are the two that I really like. So if you're okay with passing on those guys, I'm okay with taking corner. Linebacker, Trotter's available. Kyle Lewis is available.
Those two guys you mentioned at receiver specifically, I'm okay with passing on. Okay. Not a fan of those guys.
I like both of those guys. You are wrong. You are wrong. Fire me right now. Keontae Scott is the pick. There we go. Yes. So far, the Titans have David Bailey at 4, Blake Miller at 35, and Keontae Scott at 66. That's pretty good. That's a lot of talent. That's contributing talent coming in right away. All right, Bud Clark available at safety. Really good player. Love that player. Jake Slaughter is a center. In fact, we probably need to look at center right now.
I was about to say, show me the guards, show me the centers that are available.
Slaughter, Jones, and Golbin. I really like Golbin, but you can get him, I think, later at 140 or 42 or 44, so I wouldn't rush on him. If you love Logan Jones, I love Logan Jones at 101, but not if you take Blake Miller. I think you've got to come back and try to go. Who's available at receiver? Jacoby Lane is available at receiver. Deshaun Stribling is available at receiver. Bryce Lance as well. What other positions do you want to look at?
Let me see the guards just for clarity.
Guards here. Okay, you got Jalen Farmer, who could double as a center. Billy Schrath out of Notre Dame, who's a really solid player. Bo Stevens out of Iowa is pretty good.
Nobody who I'm taking at 101. Yeah,
I tend to agree with you. So, any other positions you want to see?
For fun, let's take a look at running backs.
Okay, that's a good idea. Running back here, Emmett Johnson,
who I really like.
Katron Allen. A lot of these guys, I think, if you wanted to, Keelan Black at 144, I think is a really good pick.
Yeah.
So we can kind of wait on those guys. Otherwise, it does thin out pretty quickly at running back. So
I do not want anybody walking off the pedestrian bridge. So let's go with the receiver on this pick.
I would vote for Lane, I believe. He's an outside guy, big, tall guy, 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's the pick. Jacoby Lane, right. There is value here at 101. I like that pick.
Jacoby Lane is the pick at 101. So now we still probably need to look at running back, at linebacker, at safety. We need to look at maybe tight end. We need to look at a lot of different places. So this is also where at 142, if we wanted to get our center Matt Golbin and then come back at 144 and get somebody else, I wouldn't wait too much longer on any of these centers. That's the last good guy available, in my opinion.
Yeah, this might be a situation where I consider a double up at a position that has already been drafted, wide receiver, edge. If there is somebody who is worth taking as a second option. Nadame Tucker was incredibly productive last year. I don't know if he's somebody that you would project as a hyper productive player at the next level, but there's a lot of talent there. If you go back to receiver, there are some of the guys that you mentioned that were value picks later that are coming up. Kendrick Law's coming up.
Kendrick Law's a really good piece. My issue with doubling up on edge here from a strategy standpoint is they're very rarely going to find a starting contributing piece at 142, but at center, you could get a top 3 or 4 player at his position. And I think that's the difference with my strategy. I would pick Golbin here, but I'm okay with whatever else you want to look at.
I'm liking Golbin, but let me see the guards one more time because I think Bo Stevens was still on the board.
You could do a guard and a center here if you want.
I think that I'm going to take Bo Stevens here and then at 144 come back 2 picks later and expect Golbin to still be on the board.
Final answer?
Yes.
All right, there we go. Bo Stevens at guard. We do get an Iowa offensive lineman after all. We'll take Matt Golbin out of Michigan State. So there we go. Offensive line, lots of talent added to the offensive line room with this particular draft class.
Can you tell what position I played in high school?
I don't hate the idea. Generally speaking, I don't hate the idea. Tanner Kunzoil out of Houston is an interesting piece. Jaden Kennedy probably is not available at 184, but a really good player. Eric Rivers is available if you wanted to double up and get a speed receiver.
Can I see which backs are still available?
Running back, if Keelan Black is not available. I like Le'Veon Moss, but I think you can get him later.
Robert Henry fits in a way that if you're ready to give up on Kalel Mullings immediately, you could get Kalel Mullings number 2. I don't know if that's a great plan, but
yeah, that's true. Tight ends there's a couple good tight ends in here.
Berkshire I like a little bit.
I don't mind Gillenborg, but this is kind of like I'm going to wait for Riley Nowakowski and just get a fullback and blocking tight end to go with what they've got right now. Gillenborg is a little bit redundant with Gunnar Helm. He's more of a straight line seam player. I think Tanner Kozoil is the most overall player if you want to take him at safety. Let's see what's available here. Jalen Husky is got corner-like skills. I think he's a really good cover safety. He's the only one I would probably take here. I mentioned Kennedy. TJ Hall's a depth piece. At linebacker, what do we have? Ooh, pretty thin here. Unless you wanted to pair brothers. This is pretty. Although Keyshawn Elliott is moving up boards pretty quickly. I don't know if he's available at 184, but he's a good little player too. So.
Red Murdoch, another player who was hyper productive last year. If you guys have not paid attention to just how many tackles he made last year, dude was everywhere.
Look at this 98% man's to chance Campbell.
Yeah,
that's funny. All right, what you want here? Who do you need? Do you see any positions? What do you want to see?
I think I am going to take Jaden Kennedy.
I like that. That's a smart pick. Doubling up, getting an extra piece. Very good athlete, good player. I'm down with that. Okay. What else you got here? Where do you want to go? What positions you want to go? Linebacker? You want to go tight end? Let's see here. Tight end, probably too thin at this point. You could double up at receiver if you wanted to. You're kind of thin. Xavier Thomas is an interesting player. CJ Daniels is pretty solid. Let's see here. I really like Colby Young out of Georgia. He's available later. I think he's massively underrated, so you can get good value there. If you're going back to linebacker, Keyshawn Elliott's still available. I think that's a pretty good value play there. Jalen Husky still available at safety. You've gone 2 corners, so where do you want to go here?
I am not trying to ignore the advice of my advisors and my scouts here, but this is a situation where I am picking purely based on thing Titans don't have.
Okay.
And some people might get frustrated and say, no, Titans do have.
Cade Klubnik.
I would go to wide receiver.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And I would pick Berrien Brown.
Speed.
Go get the fastest guy you can get.
Okay. Berrien Brown. All right. There we go.
A little bit redundant with Chimdike, I think you could argue. But
depth receivers in the 6th round are smart strategies.
But go get a guy. Berrien Brown is a true track star.
Yep.
He will be able to play up the middle. And
so no safeties really. Jack Kelly at linebacker maybe is interesting.
There's a part of me at safety that's really intrigued by the fact that Jalen Catalan is draft eligible this year. Dude was all SEC in 2019, I want to say.
That's old. That's an old
I think
player.
he was pre-COVID all SEC.
He's a good. He's a good player. I don't know how.
I'm not saying I'm picking him. It's just really fun to see his name at this point. Who are the backup quarterbacks available? Just for the fun of the position.
Okay, let's look at it. We got Altmaier, Jalen Daniels. Haynes King is super intriguing, actually.
Want to take Diego? I was at Diego's pro day last week, and he looked like a very good college quarterback.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He looked like a very good college quarterback.
All right, you want to do? What do you want to do here? Linebacker? I don't know. How? I mean. My guy Nowakowski is available, who is the Ben Sinnott of this draft. He's just not as good.
Okay, let me see the edges real quick.
Okay, depth piece. Okay, you got Kamara out of Indiana. As an interesting piece. Anything else you like here? Defensive line? No. Okay, linebacker.
I like Caleb Proctor a little bit. I'm not picking a defensive tackle in this draft, but I do like Caleb Proctor a little bit.
All right. Final pick, boss. Where are you going?
Yeah. Give me Mikael Kamara.
Okay. Edge player, 7th round. Productive player for Indiana. There is your draft class, the Nick Suss official draft. So with the 4th pick in the draft, you got David Bailey, Blake Miller at 35, Keontae Scott out of Miami at 66, Jacoby Lane at 101, which I think is about as good as you can expect at receiver if you wait until 101. Guard Bo Stevens out of Iowa at 142. Center Matt Golban out of Michigan State at 144. So doubling up on some Big Ten hog mollies in the middle of your offensive line, adding depth. Jaden Kennedy at 184. Berrien Brown at 194. And Mikael Kamara at edge at Indiana. So what's interesting about this draft, Nick, is if we got Bo Stevens and Golban at 42 and 44, and you got a receiver at 35, Chris Bell, hypothetically, that's where this the Blake Miller pick does change our draft strategy significantly, but I understand why you did it. So how do you feel about that class?
I feel like this is a class that looks a lot better after you go out and have a great 2027 draft. This is a class that enables you to go pick players for Cam's year 3 and to be a breakout team. I don't think
Jeremiah Smith next year.
I don't think this is a class, regardless of how you handle it. I don't think if you replace Blake Miller with Chris Brazzell there, that suddenly you're competitive in year 2.
Yeah,
I don't think if you replace David Bailey with Jeremiah Love, I don't think you view this class as anything but make sure next year you don't have to pick 3 premium needs.
Yeah.
And if you pick Jeremiah Love at 4, next year there is a pretty good chance you're going to be in need of a wide receiver 1, an edge 1, and a left tackle. And that is untenable. You will not get better if you need to replace 3 of the 5 premium positions in 2027. And this isn't me saying Dan Moore's automatically out. Like I'm not writing him off, but like, let's just understand that a lot of contracts in their second year when a new regime has come in do not survive. So if you have to guard against, he was a Callahan guy, whatever, if you have to guard against that and think about new left tackle, I think that you can raise your future with make sure you don't need to pick that tackle. I know Blake Miller's not like a true left tackle, but nobody's a true left tackle. We're talking about Francis Mauigoa and Spencer Fano as top 5 picks as not true left tackles.
Monroe Freeling is my guy. 10 says this is a draft that fills holes and can be floor raising starters just what the Titans need, which is how you started the draft process. 2 Nichols says the 2 nickel cornerbacks question mark. If they think Alontae Taylor is going to play outside, which is what he has said, then adding some pieces to the nickel is interesting. Again, Jaden Kennedy is sort of just a value pick at that point. It's like best available. I don't think he's available at that slot. Harold Perkins, I'm very torn on. I like the player. I think he will be a far better pro than he was at LSU. It's one of those players that I think has too much skill. Somebody will find a position to use him. Kendrick Law, I love that player also. A little redundant with Wan'Dale Robinson, but is a speed play that is very, very valuable. I'm big on him. Stribling is very, very good as well. Out of Ole Miss, I'm a big fan of him. Bustin' Diamond, we know you love Logan Jones. We know you love Logan Jones. I like him too. I like him at 101. Law's a great pick in the 4. So there you go. There's a lot of Genesis Smith says Ray School. I agree. I really like Genesis Smith. We didn't take Caleb Banks at that spot when he fell to 66 because that's not going to happen. So we're not going to take a defensive tackle that's not going to be available, if that makes sense. So ultra hater evaluation. You drafted a DPR at number 4, a right tackle, a nickel, and a wide receiver that can't beat press. Good run blocking guards that are mid in the pass game. That's the negative look at it.
Yeah. Nobody's good at this. That's why most NFL teams don't get better. It's hard to draft. Drafting's hard.
That's true. All right. Tennessean.com for all your merch needs. In crowd at sinkersbeverages.com. Please email the guys and reserve your spot today. We have limited space for Thursday's night's draft party. We're going to have a watch party, some giveaways, all you can eat, all you can drink at ML Rose in East Nashville. It's going to be a ton of fun on Thursday night. Doors at 6:30. We're going to watch the whole first round. Awesome time. We have a blast at that event. $40. All the money goes to charity. $75 ticket to the private Q&A with special guests, reporters, bourbon tasting, Shotgun Willie's barbecue, and some giveaways, hopefully some new Titans gear. So we'll see. Otherwise, that about does it for us. Please support 440 as well. Sinkers Beverages, Tennessean.com, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys sticking around and hanging out in the comment section. Please, rate, review, subscribe, thumbs up, notifications turned on, share the show, tell somebody about us. We would appreciate that as well. For Nick Suss, I am Braden Gall. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.